Once again, is Mshamba Marekani. Welcome to All Topics Considered podcast.
The last breed of real men. The last breed of real men is dying out. The last breed of real men is thinning out like a balding man. The last breed of real men like my father, a man whose presence would be recognized by animals when he came back home from work. The moment he stepped in the gate, the animals in the farm would recognize his very presence without seeing him. I remember as a child when my father came back home from work. Even if I was watching TV or just sitting in the house, I would feel his presence once he stepped into the gate. The cows would start mooing. The dogs would start barking. The chickens would start crowing. Even the trees in the farm would start moving like there was a hurricane about to pass by. The man who worked so hard to provide for his family. The last breed of real men is dying out. The man who was there, available, physically, mentally, financially, emotionally. The man who kept his family together. A man who took care of my mother. The man who would show up in school personally whenever I had a problem. The man who would leave his work to show up personally in school whenever I had a problem. The man who made sure every lunch break in school he would bring me and my younger sibling food in school. The man who made sure every time he came back home he would bring me and my siblings bread, milk, and meat. He never missed to bring us food when he came back from work. The whole village knew him. The man who brought his kids bread. I remember as a child when my father came back from work, he always had a paper bag full of food and bread and milk and beef. Meat would never miss in the paper bag. I remember I used to run from the house down the dirt road to meet my father in the main entrance of the village ridge. I knew I would feel, even my siblings would feel, the time he came back home. A man who kept his family together. The last breed of real men is dying out. Now we have men whose masculinity is questionable. Men who have been guilt-tripped into thinking that there is a problem with being masculine. Men who have been infantilized. Men who have been reduced to being mere infants. Men who, after achieving something and they are told to give a speech, who after having been successful, for example, winning something, achieving maybe a degree on graduation day, they never recognize their fathers. Men who destroy communities and not protect them. Men who are afraid to stand up to women yelling and screaming up to them. Men who cannot provide for their offsprings. Men who live in households and being provided by women. My father provided everything we needed. Financially, he would wake up every day early in the morning before everybody. My father, the last breed of real men. What we have remaining now is men who have been feminized. Men who twerk like women, even more. Men who don their garments just like women. Men who are commanded, controlled around, kept on a leash by women. If you stepped into my household, there was no way you wouldn't recognize that there was a man in the house. A man who made sure the family stayed together. A man who took care of my mother. A man who would never ask for any finances from my mother. Even if his own money was running out, he made sure he found a way to find the money. A man who paid all my school fees. He made sure I had everything I needed in school. The man who sacrificed all his money to make sure his kids went to school. I never missed a day in school due to lack of school fees. My father made sure we had more than enough. A man who carried me on his shoulders when I was a young boy everywhere he went. A man who held me by the hand while he was going to the garden to gather crops for our animals. He made sure I knew what it was to take care of the family and the animals in the farm. The last breed of real men is dying out. Now we have men who do not even know what their offspring is eating. Men who can't control their household, keep their family unit together. Now we have emotional men who do not know how to resolve any conflicts logically but emotionally. Now we have men who compete with women online for attention. Men who are always online competing with women for attention. Men whose largest percentage of decisions in the households are made by women. Now we have men who do not have a backbone. Men who cannot take care of a family. Men who are not respected because they have nothing to be respected. Now we have men who, instead of taking their bread to their family, they take the bread, they make it rain in the strip club. Men who, instead of spending time with their sons and teaching them ways of the men, they spend most of their time hanging with the boys. Men who are never there emotionally for their kids. I remember when I had issues in school and I called my father. He abandoned everything he was doing at the office and accompanied me to school to resolve the issue. The teacher who had a problem with me had a very candid conversation with my father, and since that day my father showed up to school, that particular teacher never had issues with me anymore. He knew there was a man, there was a father in my life. Nowadays we have men whom don't even know what goes on in school with their sons.